All right, driving with Dan and Stephen and Michael, the boys. Gonna drop off a little prescription and thinking about the way we treat religion. And Michael, what do you think about? I've been thinking about, like, you know, they're calling this generation the unchurched generation. It seems like they've run away from the idea of organized religion. What do you think is turning people off from the idea of kind of organized church and all that stuff?
I think, honestly, for me personally, it was the lack of authenticity. I grew up in church, but it seemed very far from the God that I knew through the text. It just didn't seem very real to me. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's probably the main reason why people are, millennials specifically, are not going to church, or they're totally turned off by it.
I was thinking the other day, we were talking, and somebody asked me the question, like, what are ultimately millennials looking for? Because it doesn't seem like it's money or prestige or even power or influence, even though social media kind of makes it seem that way. And I thought, they love Instagram, and the conclusion that I came to was that ultimately they just want to be seen.
Yeah.
They want to be seen and accepted for who they are, and how they've been uniquely and originally designed.
Their character, they want to be celebrated, each person wants to feel, and this goes for like all generations. I think it's just maybe more apparent in some. They want to feel loved and important and, celebrated for who they are, and feel like they have a purpose, for being alive, like, and just living their day to day.
Well, I think every generation has wanted that, but
yeah, absolutely.
But I think the kind of the homogenization of the world, because of the way that information flies, whether you're living in Sarasota or Japan, in Tokyo, is your life that much drastically different? Probably not. The landscape's different, but our day-to-day is the same. And I think the more that we try to make people feel the same, then the more they're screaming to be seen as an original design. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I think that, I don't know, this was the idea I came up with thinking the other day and talking, was one of the reasons that people seem to be so turned off by the church is we're saying, come, but you need to look a specific way, you need to act a specific way, and you kind of need to become exactly like us.
Yeah, and like you need to be ready to be there, you know? Like instead of the church accepting you where you're at, there's like this guise that you have to be a certain way, you have to be like ready for that, to even step foot in that, to experience God, to experience church. But that's, that turns a lot of people off. It's not everybody is that perfect, ready to go aspect. And what even is that?
Well, actually nobody is.
yeah, exactly.
We just have our own ways of putting on the mask, and I think some people are really good at it, and other people just refuse to do it, refuse to put on a face like they're something they're not. We're all a work in progress. But as a pastor, I look at the church and I say what we're communicating to the outside world is, we say our arms are open, but we're also at the same time saying our arms are open, but they're not really open unless you look, act, talk, respond, and live your life a certain way. And I think it's because I'm dropping off this prescription today for a refill, and I think that's the way we treat God. We treat God like he's a dose, a daily dose of like behavior correction or behavior modification, instead of realizing that what he's done for us is actually final and complete. I have to refill this prescription, but there is no refill on the cross. There is no refill on what Jesus did. It was a once and for all solution, And I think for me, that's the thing that the world needs to know, that we're not asking you to come and to be anything but you. And I asked myself, what would it look like if we could actually celebrate everybody for who they are, you know? And I think what people automatically assume you're saying when you say that, their minds, especially those that are religious, their minds say, when you say that, you're telling people just do whatever you want, and that's okay. And it's just a twist of the whole concept, because it's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, be who you are, uniquely designed to be, and we will accept, receive you, and actually celebrate you for being originally and uniquely designed. I know recently in one of the messages, I forget exactly the way it was put, but it was this idea of that we were God's ultimate dream, and we were His idea. He was not our idea, but we were His idea. And so the picture that I gave was that He was in heaven one day up there, and he had this like cartoon light bulb went off, and he was like, I have an idea, I'm going to create this. And then that became Michael, that became Stephen, that became Dan. But he had an original thought, an idea, and he created that person in that unique way. And somehow religion over the years has said, don't be uniquely you. Be just a copy or a version of us. Look like us, talk like us, dress like us, and then you can kind of be a part of the club. And it's probably gotten to a point where a generation is saying, no, we're not going to do that. And it's not because God isn't powerful or He's not full of love. It's just because He's been misrepresented. And so my heart has been like, can we reintroduce the reality of who God actually is to the world, and make them realize that He is celebrating, even when the church isn't, their unique design, because He was their idea in the first place, you know? And our prescription is not going through the 10 things that make you a better Christian or a better person. Our prescription, but I like to say solution, is found in what's been done, regardless if we wake up and get our day right or we get it wrong. It's been done and accomplished, and He became, I think the way that we put it in Romans 8:1, that car almost ran into me there, Honda Fit.
Oh,
You're not going to be so fit if you run into me. Is it says in the Mirror Bible, Romans 8:1, it says that all the condemning evidence against us has been canceled. And it actually has nothing to do with us and everything to do with Him becoming us, not dying for us, but dying as us. And when He did, then the condemning evidence against us, past, present, and future, has been canceled. And that's a powerful thing, because I just feel like it actually sets people at liberty to finally embrace who they are, and then find a place. We call it a church, but it's really nothing more than a community of people that can celebrate that same thing. You know, that's what I get passionate about. You know, and there's a lot of forces that fight against it, but I think it's possible. You know, that's what we're trying to do at Harvest. I know there are other churches, other places trying to do it, but I think it's possible.